everybody. This is your girl, Nikki Beware, and welcome back to hashtag I Am episode 2. Let's get started. December 28, 2008 was a typical night for 16-year-old Shemika Cosey. She was staying the night with her cousin, talking about boys, watching movies, playing games, doing hair and makeup. At least that's what I imagine the young Shemika and her older cousin were doing that night. But sadly, at some point that night or early morning, things ended up taking a dark turn. So many of us remember exactly how it was to be a teenager. We were filled with hormones and the need to get away from the watchful eyes of our parents because let's face it, at that age, no one knew what was best for us except us, right? I bet even now, some of you can look back on your youth and think, how in the hell did I make it into adulthood? Or what the hell was I thinking? I know I can. It would be so easy to say that things were much simpler when I was a teenager and that my parents didn't really have much to worry about, but truth is, that would be a lie. While Shamika's case doesn't align with what happened to me, bad things did happen when I slept over at a relative's house. Did you know that children are at a higher risk of being abused or hurt in familiar places, which makes the home of a friend or relative a breeding ground for such things to take place? Now, I'm not saying that this is the case in this situation, but something transpired to cause Shamika to leave the comfort of her aunt's home and walk out into the middle of the night to never be seen again. What could have possibly happened? Here's what we do know. At the time of her disappearance, Mika, was a 10th grader at Hazelwood West High School, and the family lived in Berkeley, Missouri, which is about 20 minutes away from St. Louis, Missouri. In 2008, Berkeley only consisted of a population of about 9,400 people, which in comparison to the surrounding cities like St. Louis, Missouri, and Springfield, Illinois, is extremely small. I can imagine Berkeley being a place where everyone knew everyone, and that most likely included everyone knowing everyone's business as well. That's why this case is baffling to me. For such a small area, it's hard to believe that no one has come forward with any credible information, but I digress. It doesn't seem like Shamika had much of a social life unless it involved her family. What I mean by that is, Shamika wasn't allowed to date, nor was she allowed to hang out late, which the hanging out late part is understandable, but it appears that she didn't have much room to be a typical 16-year-old. Her job every day was to come home from school and watch her baby sister, who was 9 or 10 months old at the time. Her mom actually called her the babysitter of the family. I assume that means she also babysat other children in her family as well. I won't pretend to know the dynamics of this family or if babysitting was something mandatory for her to do, but almost every single person I know who was made to watch their siblings growing up either hate children now and want to remain childless or grew up way before their time. Because of that, more of them than I'd like to admit were harboring secrets they wanted no adult to know. It seems that may have been the case here as well, because we'll soon learn that there was more to Shamika than her family ever knew. Throughout the night of December 28th, Shamika was on the phone trying to reach someone. No one knows who exactly or if she was ever able to get in touch with him or her, but Shamika's behavior was a little strange to say the least. She was seen several times going outside as if she was looking for or perhaps waiting on someone. Noticing this strange behavior, her aunt asked her what was going on, but she assured her aunt that everything was fine. Taking her at her word, Shamika's aunt and her aunt's boyfriend went to bed with the assumption that Shamika was headed to bed too. A few hours later, around 8:30 in the morning, the aunt's boyfriend got out of bed to take their dogs outside. When he walked into the living room, he noticed an empty couch. Odd, since Shamika normally slept there when she stayed the night, but no big deal, right? Maybe she was in the bathroom. Except, not only did he notice that the front door was unlocked, it was also left slightly open. Worried, he told Shamika's aunt, who then immediately got on the phone to call her sister Paula to see if Shamika somehow went home. Paula was, understandably so, confused. She thought that Shamika was still at her aunt's house. Let's pause for a second to discuss this. Can you imagine getting a phone call early in the morning asking if you've seen your child when you know they're supposed to be at the house of the very person who's calling to ask if you've seen them? Paula's heart must have stopped. I currently have a 15-year-old daughter, and putting myself in this scenario makes me sick and puts a heavy feeling in the pit of my stomach, and I'm sure Paula felt the same. After receiving this call, Paula immediately got on the phone, calling everyone she could think of who may know Shamika's whereabouts. No one had a clue, and with no choice left, Paula and her family went to the police station to report Shamika missing. Now, I don't know about you, but I've listened and watched enough true crime to know that unless you are of a certain demographic, you're highly likely to be dismissed within, oh, he or she will show up in no time. Just give it 24 hours, and if they haven't shown up, come back, which is exactly what happened here. Wouldn't you rather be safe than sorry? How many times have parents or loved ones been told this exact same thing only to never see their loved ones again? The first 72 hours of a missing persons case is crucial, yet the police often allow a whole 24 hours to pass before anything is done, if they do anything at all. Discouraged but determined, Shamika's family went to work making their own flyers, distributing them around the neighborhood, and on December 30th, 2008, Shamika Keontae Cosey was officially declared a missing person. Or was she? While at the police station on the day of the 30th, officers began questioning Shamika's cousin about what was really going on. In their eyes, her cousin had to know more than what she was letting on. Honestly, I had the same line of thoughts at first. If spending the night at this cousin's house was a regular thing, then surely they must have been incredibly close. What if Shamika tell her cousin some of the things that she was up to? According to the cousin, that wasn't the case, and she vehemently denied knowing anything. After thinking about it, I can believe it. My older cousin, who was also my best friend, had no idea about the abuse I was suffering from the hands of some of my other male cousins, so Shamika's cousin not knowing anything is very plausible. With no further information, the police stopped with their questioning. But soon after, a young man who was rumored to be Shamika's boyfriend was interviewed by the police. Now, this was news to Paula. Like I said before, Shamika wasn't allowed to date, so who was this young man and what could he possibly know? Unfortunately, what he had to say may have tainted the view of Shamika in the eyes of the police and may have quite possibly changed the course of this investigation. Jeremy, who was supposedly Shamika's boyfriend, told the police that Shamika had been frequenting strip clubs and regularly smoking weed. Upon hearing this, the police confronted Paula with these revelations. It was in this moment, I'm sure, Paula knew that the police weren't going to take the fact that her daughter was missing seriously, and she was right. Instead of labeling Shamika as a missing person, they labeled her as an endangered runaway, and next to no investigating was done. They didn't check her room or the belongings that was left at her aunt's house. See, the police believed that Shamika left on her own accord and would return before school started again. According to Paula, Shamika leaving on her own wasn't out of the realm of possibility. I mean, it made sense since she left with her coat and purse. But what didn't make sense is if she did in fact run away, why leave her overnight bag behind? If she really intended on running away, wouldn't she have taken that as well? And because she didn't take it, Paula and her family believed that Shamika had every intention of returning. Instead of waiting around for the police to do their job, Paula started an investigation of her own where she found out a lot of interesting and maybe damaging information about her daughter. She began by obtaining phone records to see who Shamika had been calling the night before her disappearance. When she called the number, a woman answered the phone and said that they had the wrong number. Paula was skeptical to say the least. Phone records clearly showed several outgoing calls to that number, and she said as much. That's when the woman on the phone told Paula that she'd told Shamika the same thing. She'd been calling the wrong number. With no way of knowing if this was true or not, Paula had no choice but to move on. Next step was to question one of Shamika's close friends who also happened to live in the downstairs apartment of their complex. This is where things began to take an interesting turn. Upon questioning, Paula learned that just 3 months earlier, after coming home from the homecoming dance, Shamika and this girl actually went to a club in East St. Louis. This bit of information got me thinking, how was Shamika able to get into a club at age 16? Well, the neighbor informed Paula that Shamika had actually used her ID since the girls looked so much alike. That's when things started to click for Paula. A little while before Shamika's disappearance, she had found an ID in Shamika's possession, but had no idea who the ID belonged to. With that mystery solved, my next question is, how old did you need to be to even get into this club? This matters because if the neighbor was 18 or 19 years old and you only needed to be 18 or older to gain access to the club, it would make sense as to why Shamika was allowed to hang out with her. But if she was 21 years old, which is the entry age for a lot of clubs, I, as a mother, would wonder why a 21-year-old woman would want to hang around my 16-year-old daughter. Let me tell you, I would not be okay with that. Although the neighbor's age was never mentioned, she was often referred to as a girl, so I can only assume that she was younger than 20 years old. Whatever the case, this was a shock to Paula's system. She had no idea that Shamika had snuck away and was at a club. Does this mean that Jeremy's account was indeed correct? According to the neighbor, they had only done it the one time, but information discovered later on leads me to believe otherwise. With a little more prompting from Paula, the girl also admitted that Shamika had been talking to, or quote unquote, dating older guys. This sparked a memory for Paula. One day, about 5 months earlier, Paula watched as Shamika emerged from a black Chrysler 300 with what looked like a grown man behind the wheel. Paula obviously questioned Shamika about who the man was, but Shamika assured her that it was a friend who was also her age and that he was driving his parents' car. With no proof, Paula let the incident go because Shamika didn't really go anywhere and was very well behaved otherwise. However, this wasn't the only time Shamika was spotted with this man. She was also seen by her grandfather and older sister being dropped off by this same man. There were so many rumors going around that I'm sure it was hard to keep track of what was credible and what was utter nonsense. But years later, as the day came for Paula and her family to pack up and leave that apartment, another secret was revealed. Notebooks that had never been seen before were found containing notes between Shamika and a friend at school, detailing how she thought she might have been pregnant by someone who she called LB. Apparently, this LB person, who was also her boyfriend at the time, had her believe that he wanted a baby with her. But the moment there might have actually been a baby, he changed his tune and suddenly no longer wanted to be with her. In her words, she stated, "I can't allow him to feel like he got power over me." She also made a comment about there already being too many children living in her house and how she wouldn't want to do it. What does this all mean? Did she actually get pregnant? And if so, what happened to the baby? Police stated that they interrogated the boyfriend in question, but nothing ever became of it. Shamika's older sister, at some point, also disclosed to Paula that Shamika may have been dating an older man who was in the military. So, here we have yet another guy Shamika may have been involved with, and still no answers to be found. Could this have been the same older guy who was seen dropping Shamika off? We may never know. Police were never able to learn the identity of the mystery man in the black Chrysler 300. You would think that with the news coverage this case received and the description of the car, this person would have stepped forward, but no such luck. If this guy and the military man are one and the same, it could explain why he's choosing to remain a secret. An older guy in the military, possibly married and dating a minor, wouldn't exactly be a good look for his career. But that's not all. There's one more rumor, maybe the most disturbing of all, that was being brought to Paula's attention. There was a young girl who also went missing in Berkeley around the same time as Shamika. I did my best to find out who this girl may have been, but I wasn't able to find much. What I was able to find, though, happened over a year before Shamika disappeared. A 15-year-old girl by the name of Malika Baber went missing on May 7, 2007. Could this be the other missing girl? I have no idea, but I searched for cases that happened between 2007 and 2009, and this was the only one I could find. Whoever this other missing girl may be, according to rumors, was involved with the man that Shamika had supposedly also been involved with. Unfortunately, this man was killed, so whatever involvement he may have had, we'll never know. Over the years, Paula has continued her fight, and while there may not be answers in her daughter's disappearance, it hasn't stopped her from helping other families who are in similar situations. She's become a part of a foundation called Looking for an Angel, where she is now a board member. This foundation helps spread awareness of missing persons cases by passing out flyers and funding their own search and rescue teams that work alongside the police. If you have any information pertinent to this case, please contact Berkeley Police Department at 314-524-3311. How well do we really know the people we love, even those we live with? As it turns out, especially in this case, not well at all. Paula was strict with her daughter, didn't allow her too much freedom, yet here we are with a missing young lady who hasn't been seen in over 14 years. I'm hoping someone out there somewhere has answers, and if you do, please don't allow this family to go on any longer with questions unanswered. Do the right thing and help them bring Shamika home. As always, this is hashtag I am. Be blessed and stay safe.